afternoon, everyone, and a warm welcome to Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. I'm Jonathan Green, alongside me, Ben Sissel, as we get ready for what is something special and something different. And I think we all need something special and different in these troubled times. We are going to take you into the world of Trans Am, but we're going to do it differently this time. We're going to Lime Rock, and we're going to go online and do it. And Lime Rock, the perfect place. It's been open since 1957, and would you believe it, March 25th, 1966, Trans Am began, and here we are, March 28, 2020, and Trans Am, the oldest ongoing series in America, is taking a new leap into the future with cyber racing and iRacing, e-racing, whatever you would prefer, and really looking forward to this. Ben, why don't we start by explaining the format and who we've got, because we've got professional racing car drivers here, of them connected to Trans Am.
Yeah, for the Lime Rock Showdown, the inaugural Trans Am by Pirelli Esports Championship, we have such a great format. I'm so excited for this, but we have some Trans Am legends. We've got Cameron Lawrence, two-time Trans Am champion. Ernie Francis Jr., six-time Trans Am champion. Scott Lagasse Jr., Thomas Merrill. And then I think a wild card in this could be Edward Savagian or Dylan Archer. Dylan Archer is the son of Bobby Archer, nephew of Tommy Archer, both just like Trans Am royalty. And Dylan Archer, this is his first time with us in Trans Am, but he is a regular in Sim and a regular in our paddock. It's going to be really cool. We've got a 10-minute qualifying and two 20-minute races with the twist. Jonathan, tell us about that twist between the races.
Well, the best part about the twist is that the second race is going to be a complete reverse grid. So if you win the race, it's a double-edged sword. You start at the back for race two. So we'll have a complete reverse grid for the second race. So it's going to be really interesting, this, because these guys, like everybody else, we're all hunkering down in our own homes, but racing drivers don't like to be cooped up, and this is their chance to go racing. They know each other well. I've been watching them practice. They're all talking to each other. There's a lot of smack talking going on. There's a lot of challenging lap times and looking at setup. One thing I will tell you, for those who watch a lot of gaming, we have not got any damage on this, and the cars are all identical Camaros, and that's an important part, because obviously everybody's got different rigs and different variants on that side of things, but the cars themselves in the game have exactly the same settings.
Yeah, and what I love about this too, being Trans Am races in all different groups, and we have a West Coast and an East Coast championship. But in this race, everybody is in the same car, but they've all raced in different areas. So we've got a lot of people, a lot of drivers from our West Coast that race in GT to TA2 to SGT to TA, and the same in the East Coast. We've got a lot of SGT, we've got a lot of XGT, we've got a lot of TA2 and TA. This should be really interesting. And then talking to Ernie Francis Jr. today, he's super excited to race people he never gets to race with.
It's a good point. I love the fact that the detail here that these guys have put together on this game, rFactor have done a great job. Look, even social distancing with our crowd. I love that.
Yeah, you know, even the computer people in here don't want to get a computer virus, so they're doing social distancing. Lime Rock Park has done such a great job, because we were watching practice, and these cars really tore up the grass and the tire walls, but they worked through the night to get it looking just as it always does. It's always one of the most beautiful tracks. But Jonathan, explain to us the challenge of racing this small track with these high horsepower cars.
This is a really short circuit at just a mile and a half, just 7 turns. I mean, in real life it's tough, but in sim car racing it's even tougher, because you just don't get a sense of the speed. There's a lot of mid-corner speed, fast mid-corner, sweeping corners, and I was talking again to Ernie about that today, and he was saying that, you know, you don't get a sense of speed on a sim, so it's harder to react perhaps on this very, very tight circuit. Now, if you want to take a look on the app, go to the Trans Am by Pirelli Racing Trans Am app, available on both Google and the App Store, and also the SBRA. You can watch what we're doing here in cyberspace, but also when we get back to reality, when we get back to racing, hopefully very soon, you'll be able to download those apps. And as we went to Sebring, we found them very, very useful, because in there you got all the news, you got all the driver details, and you can actually watch the coverage, the live streaming coverage there. But today, of course, we'll be showing you this special showdown around the world. And we welcome you from wherever you are. We've got drivers from all over the United States, from New York, from Florida, from a lot of from Texas and California, and we've even got a driver from Hawaii.
That's right, Roger Eagleton from Hawaii, the 2019 West Coast GT champion. Welcome, everybody, to this broadcast.
Yeah, and in a moment, we're going to get underway and get to qualifying, and we'll be seeing just exactly who is going to set the pace here at this showdown. Anybody else you want to point out as a potential ringer for this?
I don't know. You know, I was really surprised with Adrian Wlostowski. He was really helping everybody, almost like as an IT manager. But there's a lot of people in this. I'd say Bo Borders, Nick Racino, actually, from our West Coast side. It looks like he has a lot of sim seat time, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him at the top either. Also, Roger Eagleton from Hawaii. They actually raced last night with a group that Michelle Abadi set up in Sonoma, and they came in first and second, so keep your eye on those guys.
Michelle Abadi's one to talk about. She's in Las Vegas. She's a regular, of course, to Trans Am Racing, but she has a really interesting sim setup.
You know, I haven't even seen it. You got to explain it. I haven't seen her sim setup.
Yeah, she sent me a picture of it, and it's really, really nice. She's got a really nice room set up. She's got the full deal. She's only actually been racing sims since last August, but she's getting her head around it, and she has been one of the keenest. She's been pretty much around the clock practicing for this race.
Well, if we're talking about sims, we got to talk about Scott Lagasse, but maybe we'll do that later on in the broadcast, because he's probably on the opposite side of that spectrum with his sim setup.
I agree, Ben. We'll talk about Scott in a minute, and he was third in the real race here at the Memorial Weekend. Well, we'll take a short break here on our sim race. We're about to get into qualifying and the race. 2 races coming your way, 1 a reverse grid. We'll take a short break. I've got no pictures, guys. Hey, guys.
So we're looking at qualifying right now. Jonathan, are you getting the visual from that?
At the moment, no. So you carry on. I'll be with you in a second.
All right, so we're doing a 10-minute qualifying, and we're in 8:58 about right now. It looks like a lot of drivers are still in the pits. They haven't come out. But I'll tell you what, in practice, we had the top 10 all within a second of each other. I'm not sure what they're learning from each other here, but we got RJ Lopez in the number 22 coming here. RJ is a veteran of Trans Am. He's always racing with us down, looks like in Sebring in the Southeast, but he's always finishing in the top 5 in TA. And we've got a big group. You know, this is a short track for these high horsepower cars, and we've got over 25 cars in this race. Unbelievable.
Interesting. I mean, these guys have done a bit of practice, but they really haven't. I mean, this is, of all the tracks they could have picked, Lime Rock really definitely one of challenging. I mean, we just came, realistically, when we started the season for real at Sebring, and I think those guys would probably have preferred to go back to Sebring because they were all dialed in for that. Lime Rock's tricky.
Lime Rock's really tricky, and something to watch out for. We were talking about this yesterday in our chat. Is the uphill. This is, you know, the first track that we picked has basically a jump in it, and the amount of air that these drivers are getting on the uphill is a little bit scary. But we want you guys to go on our social media channels and comment on who you think gets the best air in this race, because they're going to get a special award after these 2 races subside. But Jonathan, talk about just the difficulty of this short track.
It is tall. I mean, think about the power you've got in a Trans Am car. And okay, just so you understand, these are all 2012 GT3 Camaros. It's as close as you can be, though. So some guys will be, the SGT drivers will be used to that sort of thing, but there'll be some guys who won't be. But these are really powerful cars on a very tight track. We've got over 30 cars entered, and so it's going to be really interesting to see It's actually going to be more about holding back, because you know when you're doing the real thing, then you have a sense of awareness. Whereas when you're doing a game, you know, you may not hold back as much. You may just push a little harder than normal, and try to see what you can get away with. We do have a race director in Will Tragutha, who is based in the UK. He's a GT driver. He's watching right now to see if everybody's behaving. He doesn't want to give out penalties, and the biggest penalty he could give out in a short 20-minute race is potentially a drive-through. He's not wanting to do that, but if anybody gets really naughty and starts messing about, he will give them a drive-through penalty with no damage on. That's another sort of red rat to a bull, because all of these drivers will be keen, knowing that there's no damage control, to push harder than they would in real life.
Yeah, and true to form, we've got last year 2019 TA2 champion Mark Miller at the top of the leaderboard right now with a 47.21 top time, as we follow along with new to the Trans Am series Scott Borchetta in the number 31 Big Machine Vodka Camaro. Scott is definitely not new to racing, and he's one of the fastest in some of the other groups that we race with, but he's new to Trans Am. He was going to join the TA2 series this year. This is his first Trans Am race that I know of, but he's always fast in everything. And if you know anything about Big Machine Vodka, if you like motorsports, make sure that you're drinking Big Machine Vodka, because they are really supporting motorsports across the board.
Oh, it sounds like you've partaken in that.
You know, possibly. Possibly. But now here we are with Doug Winston. Doug Winston's a TA2 driver with us with Fast Auto Racing, and he had a really good showing at Sebring until near the end. He got spun at turn 7 and caused that double yellow at turn 7. But you've noticed the air there that they're getting coming up the uphill. That is unlike anything I've seen before in Trans Am.
It's going to be interesting. That jump is really. I was watching an instructional video actually, and they were saying basically that you've got to take that jump, even in real life. You've got to take it straight on, otherwise you will get turfed out.
And so that's something I want to cover. If they come down here, down the hill between 6 and 7, you'll notice the cars get really light. And then as they come down to turn 7, they compress. And we'll see a lot of cars. Scott Lagasse Jr. was telling me on the phone that he was flipping on that downhill. He must have flipped, he said, 5 or 6 times. I froze up there for a second. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're new to this, and so like I said, I'm broadcasting from Nashville, Tennessee. Jonathan's in Austin. The switchers are in Las Vegas, and our chief steward, our race control, is actually in the UK. So there may be some glitches here and there, but we're going to do our best to get us through this as we follow along with Scott Borchetta in the number 31. So this is qualifying. Right now we've got Mark Miller at the top, followed by Dylan Archer. Casera is 3rd. Edward Savajan is 4th. Thomas Merrill, who won here last year in TA2, is 5th. Cameron Lawrence is 6th. JP Southern is 7th. Ernie Francis Jr. is 8th. Roger Eagleton is 9th. And Scott Lagasse Jr. is 10th. That is the top 10, and of those 10, there are some legends in there, some Trans Am champions from all walks of life. This is going to be really fun to watch, because we've got some guys that are telling us they don't have much sim experience, but I'm telling you, they've done a lot more sim racing than they're telling us. Jonathan, are you back? Can you see this, Jonathan?
Going wide there. I've got you back now with pictures, and you know, I'm going to stick my neck out here. Ben, watch out for the number 5 Parsons. He's currently 13th, but he gave me a rundown of his setup, and boy, is he rigged out. He's got the fan attack. He's got the special braking bias, the motion bias. He's got all of that, so he has got the full rig. And I reckon that he could come through on this. He's 1.3 seconds off the leaders at the moment. And isn't it great to see Mark Miller back in Trans Am, even if it is only on cyberspace? But we're welcoming him back. Put on a great show last year, and I believe he's gone off to IMSA. But it's great to have him back this weekend.
Oh, it's so great to have him back. And he was helping a lot of the guys out yesterday when people were having problems logging in because he has a lot of sim experience. He told me he hasn't done this rFactor game in a while, but he's got a great sim setup, and I would expect him to be up there marching in the top 5. But the other guys that I think aren't, you know, like Cameron Lawrence, 2-time TA2 champion. Look at if you can look at the scores in the top 10, they are all so close. The margin is going to be so crazy in this short track. They're doing 47-second laps. That means they're going to be getting into lap traffic quickly. And then the inverted grid.
There's really nowhere to overtake here, too. I mean, if you're on a decent line, if you're on a decent race lap, there really isn't another line to go on to do overtaking. You've got to do it under braking or force the guy, like we just saw there, into a mistake and hopefully then put the pressure on. So we're going to see some pressure racing, especially given that they're going to be wheel to wheel for the first. It's going to be a rolling start, Ben, just so you understand. And I think what we should let the audience know as we head down that sandpost is that basically this is going to be fast and furious, and I don't mean to use the pun, but it is, because we're going to go straight from qualifying into the first race. There'll be a slight gap, we'll take a short break, then we'll come back and we'll have that reverse second race. So there's not a lot of time to mess about. The good thing is they're not worrying about setup, they're not worrying about changing things on the car too much. Everybody's got to run with it. There was a few complaints early on about certain, you know, the feel of the car and whatever, but it's the same for everybody. So all of these guys have been doing lap after lap for the last 24 hours, just trying to get used to, you know, getting their head around racing on sims. Now, all of them have done a little bit of sim racing, but, you know, they're going to take it seriously. You know they are. Great to see a Texas man from Dallas, Texas in third place. In fact, he was third here in Texas at COTA. Savagian Edward, back in, what was it, November last year? Had a great run.
Yeah, he did. He worked his way through the field and finished third, as now we follow around with Mitch Marvosh, who is a TA and TA2 driver on the West Coast in his Wolf Entertainment Chevrolet Camaro, right there, the number 19. And he's 2 seconds behind the pace, which is surprising because I think he's got some time in a sim, but everybody has to get used to these new things. And being from the West Coast, he probably doesn't have much time at Lime Rock Park here in Connecticut.
All the drivers you're watching in this game are all professional racing drivers, but from varying different angles, if you will. We've got Mark Miller, who leads the way after that first qualifying session with a 47.2. But look how close it is, all the way down to 7th place, JP Southern, who I know well from single-seaters. He's done Formula 4. In fact, he was doing a sim Formula 3 race just earlier this week, and he's just 0.275 off the leader, Mark Miller. Miller, of course, a fantastic champion last year with the Dodge, but he hasn't lost his stride, has he, Mark Miller? He's the one, he's the dark horse. He's come out of nowhere. Everybody thought, we're done now, Mark Miller's gone. They put on a cyber race, and here he comes.
Yeah, Mark Miller, but followed closely, just barely behind him, is Dylan Archer. Like I said, kind of the one to really watch. If I was to pick a fantasy team in this, like my top 3, I would have put Dylan Archer there. Just talking to him on the phone, I've met him in our paddocks before because his dad, Bobby Archer, a Trans Am legend, is always in the SVRA and Trans Am paddocks, racing with us or racing in enduros with us. But it's going to be really fun to see because then you've got Edward Savagian, Casera, and Thomas Merrill, Cameron Lawrence. The top of this board is going to be really fun to watch. But also, like you were talking about Cameron Parsons, a lot of these guys we're talking about, they're just hoping to hold 48s and let the guys in front of them spin out, and they're going to pass them. So there's a lot of different strategies in this race as well.
And there goes the 19 into the barriers. That's Mitch Marvosh. And also taking a spin there, Scott Bichetta, just at the end of qualifying. So Mark Miller then, with a 47.2, leads the way here and will start on the front row. And it's his job now to lead this field round for the rolling start. Dylan Archer, the man you were just talking about, will start second. Edward Savagian of Texas starts third. And then Tyler, another one of the youngsters, will be in 4th position ahead of another young, hard-charging gun. That's Thomas Merrill. Merrill, obviously one of our regulars. He is in 5th place for the start of this one. Then Cameron Lawrence, JP Southern. Ernie Francis Jr. gets a top 10 start for 1 South, and that's going to be interesting to see how the 6-time champion goes ahead of Roger Eagleton, flying the flag for Hawaii in 9th position, and John Atwell rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, I cannot wait to watch this.
That's going to be fun. As you can see in the bottom left there, ambient temperature 29 degrees. Perfect conditions for racing here at Lime Rock. We'll take a short break. We'll be back with the action in a moment. Welcome back to the Lime Rock Showdown here. Trans Am presented by Pirelli, the Lime Rock Showdown. Something very special and different, but I think we all do need a little bit of a distraction, if you will. We're all under the same circumstances, so let's go racing because that's what we do best. This is Trans Am. This is our first real attempt at taking on the world of iRacing, and I'm really looking forward to this because it's going to be fun to see this rFactor game in full flow with all of our professional drivers, both present, past, and some youngsters trying it for the first time. We've got a full field there, you can see it, and it's going to be a rolling start. There's no safety car, so it's up to Mark Miller, who's one of the most experienced Trans Am drivers there is, to lead us round. And it's going to be interesting, this, because I was talking to, well, I've spoken to most of the drivers in the last 24 hours, and, you know, like I said, people take more risks in a game, but these guys are professionals, so they know that, especially with damage control on, that there's no prizes for getting through the first corner in the lead unless you can get a really strong lead. That might be Mark Miller's plan, but there might be others in the midfield that will be waiting for a crash maybe in the first corner. As we head out now, everybody on the rolling start, we're up and running. Ben, what are your thoughts? How would you play it if you were in mid-pack?
Oh, mid-pack, I don't know. That's going to be really tough because this is such a short track. I think the smart drivers in the mid-pack are going to wait for them to just kind of crumple up turn one. I'm sure that turn one there's going to be a little bit of a melee and hope to sneak by maybe on the inside. But hopefully, if they're smart, I think they're going to kind of wait for the race to come to them. Now, I will look for the guys up front to really try to take off and leave the pack because this is one of those tracks that you just don't want to be side by side after turn three.
You say Archer's got that pedigree name from Trans Am, but he admitted to you that he considers himself more of a gamer than he does a racing driver like his father and before him. But it's going to be interesting to see that. Casera is also another one who's very experienced, Thomas Merrill. The one guy that we haven't mentioned too much was Wlostowski, was helping everybody out. Adrian was seemingly the IT guy in the run-up to this. So there you see the safety car flag out, but we don't actually have a safety car. It's up to Mark Miller to lead them round, and he will get onto that Sam Posey straight, and when he accelerates, the race will be on. Under the bridge we go, down the hill. Very important corner coming up here as you head down towards West Bend, and then downhill onto the main straight, and now Mark Miller is in charge of the first ever Trans Am presented by Pirelli Lime Rock Showdown. We're racing. Well, Archer follows it in. Good clean start by everybody, jostling for position in the first corner. Oh, 3 wide. Excellent start there as they go through Big Ben. And several cars and a turnaround. That looks like car number 30 got turned around. That's Tyler Casera, one of the favorites from Pennsylvania. Gets turned around, Ben. Plenty of action in the first few corners.
Oh, yeah, this is just crazy to watch. Looks like Mark Miller has the lead, followed by Dylan Archer and Edward Savajan as they come through No Name Straight towards the uphill. And it's going to be really interesting to see. Oh, looks like, we've got yellows out. We've got the safety car. We saw it come out of the pits at the start, and that confused everybody. So we're at full safety car. It looks like as we were coming to the start that we had a lot of drivers still in the pit. which we were told at the drivers meeting they didn't hit their button to join the race. So maybe, hopefully, race control is going to let everybody join the race and let them re-up in here.
You see it, yeah, we've got a safety car out there, and Will Tragutha, our race director, already under pressure, I would have thought, to decide what the next move is. But as you can see, oh, a little bit of a punt. You can't do that. Ernie Francis Jr., what kind of respect is that for a 6-time champion? The man from Jupiter, Florida, has just gone off track, and he was knocked off track by the looks of things. Back onto the Stamposi straight as we go on board with the man in, what, 5th place at the moment? That's Thomas Merrill.
Yeah, Thomas is following down the Stamposi straight. Now, Thomas Merrill, it's great that we're on board with him. He won here last year in a really contested race from Dylan McIvern. But this should be really fun. We just got a message from Cameron Lawrence because in driver's meeting, they said we probably won't have a safety car. And here we go. We hadn't even gotten 100 yards, and there's a safety car on the track as we go around Big Bend, Jonathan.
And this is going to be really interesting because the sims are so realistic that everything that happens in real life will be happening in the sim. It depends on the controls. So I'm sure a lot of the drivers are scratching their heads now as to whether they need to keep the tires warm or not. And it's going to be interesting to see at this restart because most of the controls are turned off, but we didn't really discuss too heavily on the tire situation, especially under this safety because we weren't expecting a safety car. So this gets really interesting now. We stay with Thomas Merrill right in the middle of the pack, and they're still jostling for position back there. But we're under safety in our first ever showdown here from Lime Rock. We're looking at the car number 28. That is Thomas Merrill. We're just on board with him. 13, another check out to him. That's JP Southern. Good to have JP, the teenager who's just come up from single-seaters. Joined Trans Am, in fact, at Daytona last year. Him and his dad, I know them well. And they're really excited to make the change from single-seaters into Trans Am racing. And so JP, in real life, is just finding his way in Trans Am. So maybe he can shine here. Down the hill we come. Still under safety here. 18 minutes. There's still going to be a good long race yet. But hopefully the safety car, you'll watch out. He is coming in now. So once again, Mark Miller will be in charge of restarting this race. He holds them. Archer trying to get alongside him. Will try to make the jump at the start as they dive into the first turn here. Big Ben. And Miller holding on. Through goes the number 4. Good start from Cameron Lawrence. 13's right there too. That's Paul JP Southern. Little bit of a touch there with the 28 of Thomas Merrill. Everyone jostling for position, hitting the grass there, Merrill, for a moment as they go through 3. Through left-hander and right-hander, going through the gearbox now and opening up down no name straight. Good clean start, Ben.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happened. There we go. We've got them back. They're going up the uphill. We are on board right now with Thomas Merrill, who won here last year. What a great time as the leaders are now coming down the hill and getting light going into one of the toughest turns in road racing as we follow the leaders around Lime Rock Park.
It's interesting, you know, somebody going very wide there at the last turn. Somebody's gone off heavily. We'll go back, I'm sure, to see who that was. But yeah, these drivers getting used to racing in the sim. They all know Lime Rock well. They've raced it many times. This is our traditional Memorial Day weekend race at Lime Rock, and a great celebration that it is too. And we're delighted to be there. And of course, as I mentioned at the top, Lime Rock's been open since 1957. It's a bit like Laguna Seca and Road America. It's one of the oldest and iconic circuits in America. And while it's short, it's always been tricky, especially with that jump there. Like I said, we're going to give air points out. So get on social media and decide who does the best air of the day. And also maybe the most spectacular move. Who knows? Now we've got a battle between 24 and 21. 24, of course, is Roger Eagleton from California, but based out of... Oh, somebody just hit the wall there. That was Tyler Casera again, I think, hitting the wall down the Stamposi straight. He is out, but he'll get back in gear, I'm sure. And the 24 I mentioned earlier, Roger Eagleton is the man we're watching out at the moment, battling it out with Nick Racino. Now, we spoke to Nick this morning, Ben, and he was really looking forward to this.
Yeah, I really would say keep your eyes on Nick Racino in the number 21 car because he is fast. He does a lot of sim work. Actually, he's an IT guy by trade, and he did really well in the race last night that Michelle Abadi, one of our drivers, set up in the Sims for Sonoma. He won that race. And, you know, one of the comments that I've gotten from the drivers, Jonathan, is just how tiring this is in the Sim. These guys are sweating and working really hard. Things come at them, they said, even faster sometimes than in the real race car.
You know, these guys are racing drivers, so they'll complain about everything. So the one thing that will, if you don't win, you'll complain that your rig wasn't as good as some of the other rigs. Now, some guys have got the full VR. They've got the full headset on, and they're doing VR. So that is really cool. But that's only about 2 or 3 drivers. I've just noticed that Atwell and Abate are both in the pits, and that's a real shame for our Las Vegas, the only female out there, Michelle. She was really looking forward to this, so I don't know what's happened there. But both her and John Atwell currently based in 9th and 10th, so maybe they've just pitted and they're back out. Maybe they pitted under safety, got some new tires, who knows?
Yeah, I'm not sure. As we've been following along with Rhett Barco from barcocars.com in the number 20. And Rhett was actually the 2019 FE2 champion. So welcome Rhett to the series as they come down Sam Posey straight. I'm not sure what's going on with timing and scoring right now, but we are on lap 8. We've got Mark Miller in first, Dylan Archer second, and Edward Savajian in third. So the fight up front is really close.
Yeah, there's been no change at the start of this race, no change at the front between the top 3. We're just kind of shuffling through. Wlostowski is the battle we're watching at now, and he's being chased by the number 5 of Parsons. That was the man I mentioned at the beginning, Cameron Parsons. Barco is in 13th position in the number 20, so we're watching that battle in the midfield to try to get into the top 10. Oh, great air! Who was that? Fantastic air by the number 1. Wow! Wlostowski getting much... Well, I don't know. He had about 3-second hang time there. There must be extra points for that, surely.
There should be. Hopefully people are voting for him right now on our social media. Great thing about Adrian, he's been helping everybody out. But I met him here at Lime Rock in 2019. It was his first race with us in his beautiful black fast auto racing Ford Mustang. This was his first race, and he ended up 3rd place on the podium with us. And here he is now in the 01 Fast Auto Racing Camaro with us back at Lime Rock.
And there is absolutely nothing between the leaders at the moment. Miller leading by just 0.2 of a second. And this has been an interesting start to this. Lost picture for a second, but I'm sure it'll be back. But yeah, just what we wanted. And just so you know, this is a bit of fun, folks. This is not meant to be taken too seriously. We are doing this because we're all in the same boredom level, I'm sure. And with racing drivers, you got to give them something to do. And this is almost the perfect time to be a sim racing driver because you can get amongst it and distract yourself merrily. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with this race today here at Lime Rock, the Lime Rock Showdown.
Jonathan, I promise you, as we watch Carl Rydquist try to pass Adrian Wlostowski, oh, look at that, into the right-hander. It looks like he took him. Oh, and knocked out Adrian, Jonathan. Adrian out right now as they go up the uphill as we follow around with Carl Rydquist, another one of our West Coast guys. He was the 2019 SGT champion in Trans Am. But this is a lot of fun. But you were talking about we're not supposed to be taking this too seriously. But I promise you, all of the drivers in this field are taking this way more seriously than they should be. And they're all white-knuckling around this course. All right. So we're following around with Carl Rydquist right there in the 06 car. Carl currently is in 10th place. So the mid-pack is a lot of fun. It looks like the fight up front between Miller and Archer and Merrill just joining up there is really a good race too. As somebody goes off the track as they come down here in the no-name straight, that was the number 11 of Ernie Francis Jr., our champion. As we follow along here, now we're following the number 9,
Ernie Francis
Dylan Archer.
Jr.
This is the race, I think, for first place right here, ladies and gentlemen. Number 16 is Mark Miller, TA2 champion from 2019. And we're trying to follow along. Sorry, we've had some hiccups here, and please keep up because this is just going to get better. This is our first attempt at this, but I know everybody at Trans Am with John Claggett as the president, he's super excited about this, and this is just going to be so much fun as we follow Daniel Urisha, who was with us in his Corvette at Sebring. And Jonathan told me a great fact. The Juan Manuel Fangio Netflix special just came out about a week ago, and it was actually his grandfather that was killed in the race with Fangio. And he mentioned to us that that was his grandfather that they do about
Ben,
a 10-minute special on in the Netflix special about Fangio. As here they go down the downhill. Watch how light these cars get. You see the front ends lift up, and then they compress into this turn down the Sam Posey straight. This is a great race between the number 17 of Michele Abate racing with Daniel Riccia, two drivers that never get to race with each other, as we follow along the 28 of Thomas Merrill. Thomas is currently in second place behind Dylan Archer. Mark Miller, who was leading this race, is now 6 seconds behind. We don't know what happened there. But here we go. Thomas Merrill, a second and a half behind Dylan Archer, the son of Bobby Archer. And I promise you, Bobby and Tommy are at home screaming at their televisions and computers right now. Thomas Merrill won this race last year, worked for the Skip Barber Racing School. He has a lot of experience here, and he's going to try to hunt down Dylan Archer, who told us he considers himself a sim racer more than a race car driver, but he's got a lot of experience in go-karts. He's got a lot of experience in like HPDE. He said he was just in a Dodge Viper on a track a couple of weeks ago. But here they come up the hill. Oh, and then the number 9 gets taken out. That's Dylan Archer. That's our leader right there. Let's see if Merrill can get around him. Looks like he got taken out by lap traffic, which we knew was going to be a problem at such a short track. Lime Rock Park is only a mile and a half around. So when we get a field of over 25 high horsepower cars, we knew that lap traffic would be a factor immediately. So it looks like Thomas Merrill is in the lead again at Lime Rock Park, followed by Cameron Lawrence and Mark Miller. Dylan Archer fell back to 4th, but expect him to go up as the safety car comes back up. And I'm not sure what happened on track, but hopefully this is going to kind of tie up the field a little bit, as we've got a little over 8.5 minutes left in this race as we follow along with Cameron Lawrence, two-time TA2 champion, got second place at a beautiful race just a couple of weeks ago at Sebring behind Mike Skeen.
Hey, Ben.
I hear you, Jonathan.
Yeah, I just took a break there. I just went to take the dog out for a walk, but I'm back now.
That's fine. You know, union breaks, that's cool. Well, we're under a safety car. Can you see what's happening on the screen, Jonathan?
Yeah, I got it now.
All right.
So we're back to safety, and see, I love the fact that they've got the little safety car boards there. Look, the marshal's doing a really good job. Good crowd here at Lime Rock, but no change in terms of the they're piling into each other. They're going too slow for each other to not help avoid each other. Good job we've got no damage on, or there'll be real fisticuffs afterwards. I love the fact that, Ben, I reckon half the mechanics around America are sitting at home with a chilled beer going, I'm not repairing that, I'm not repairing that.
Yeah, you know that they're just laughing, just so thankful that they're not going to have to deal with this tonight.
Yeah, no kidding. So Merrill leads, no surprise. He does it in the real thing, and does it when he's on the sim. I love it.
Yeah, I'd be surprised knowing Thomas pretty well. He's in Salinas, California, but races all over the place and is one of our fastest drivers in TA2. But I'd be really surprised to find out that he doesn't spend a lot of time on a sim every week.
Yeah, and RideQuest is another one we mentioned before the start that I thought might be up there, the Swede turned American. And he's been racing, well, he's been racing 20 years or so, but he's been doing computer games since he was 5, he was telling me.
Yeah, one to really think about. Look at Lagasse Jr. has moved his way all the way up to 6th somehow. And I wish we could play this, but it's on our Facebook channel of his setup. It's basically his kid's craft table, a lawn chair, and a steering wheel. That's how he's running this race against guys that are in full-on simulators. And it's really cool to see Scott Lagasse Jr., who finished 3rd here last year, up to 6th. But there's nothing Lagasse would like more than to beat Thomas Merrill at this race.
Yeah, but you say it's a deck chair, but it's actually, it's more trick than that. It's a kid's deck chair, so it's low to the ground. And it's about, I mean, for Lagasse, I don't know how he gets in it, but once he's in it, he can get the whole rig going. And I think that could be his secret sauce.
Yeah, possibly. And all the drivers on the chat room were giving him a hard time about it, and they said he has to do this race in flip-flops. As we go, looks like we're going to get down to green, Jonathan.
All right, we're down the Sam Posey straight one more time, and we're under green here with 5 minutes to go here in our Trans Am Lime Rock Showdown, presented by Pirelli, and into turn one they go. And it's Merrill, Lawrence, and Miller. Miller, who led early on, with work to do in the number 16. Archer still there. Rydquist in 5th place. Lagasse Jr. coming through the field brilliantly. Scott Lagasse Jr., who was 3rd here at Lime Rock in our real race. Oh, as somebody goes very wide. That was 15. Going wide there, I think, or was it the 19 of Marvosh? Either way, somebody going wide, but out front it is Thomas Merrill leading the way and pulling away by over half a second now as they come over the hill.
Yeah, but I would expect to watch, you got to watch Mark Miller, Dylan Archer, Rydquist, Lagasse Jr. There is a lot going on up here, but don't forget about in 8th place right now, Nick Racino. Nick said he was going to kind of play the slow game, but now we've got 5 minutes left in this, which means probably 6 to 7 laps left if we stay green. Let's see if Nick Racino can make it to the top 5.
Yeah, it's going to be, now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. These guys have been practicing for literally the last 48 hours. Some of them coming new to the game, some with some experience of it. Most of the guys racing, although they're all professional racing drivers, have got some experience. It's now a modern part, obviously, of preparing. A lot of these guys are race instructors, too. I was talking to Mark Miller about whether he uses sim to help teach racing, and he says it's a big part, it's an integral part now of learning to be a racing driver, because obviously you can get on a sim any time of the day and practice, and it's so lifelike, so close to the real thing, that it's well worth investing in the sim. Plus there's no damage, guys. Perfect.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things at the sim is you must be looking at this thinking, surely Lime Rock is not that beautiful, but I promise you,
yeah, it is
may
actually
be even more beautiful than what you're seeing on the screen. It's one of the prettiest tracks as we follow Thomas Merrill in his Deal Merrill Racing Mike Cope HP Tuners Camaro around the right-hander going into No Name Straight to the uphill, and it looks like he's getting a gap between them.
I got about to say, yeah, he's pulled out to what, officially 0.9 of a second, and that's just in 2 laps. So Thomas Merrill at this restart is really taking it to both Lawrence and Miller. And oh, somebody going wide there. Who was that? Was that Eagleton?
No, we're following Eagleton right now in the 24. That might have been Nick Racino, but we'll see. Because Eagleton, he won the sim race last night at Sonoma that Michelle Abadi set up for the West Coast Racers in Trans Am. And now we go on with John Atwell in the number 12.
Yeah, a little bit of extra practice at Sonoma, I noticed last night. Even the Cyber Wine was good, I hear.
Yeah, and they were talking about how sweaty they were after that race. So I would love to be able to talk to the drivers through this to see, because you can tell this race has been, they've had to have their stress levels. I'd love to have a heart monitor on some of these drivers because, you know, as we said, they said this is going to be fun and not take it seriously. But as soon as we drop that green flag, they're back to racing.
This is great to see. A new chapter in the 54-year history of Trans Am. Never before have we put together a bunch of professional racers to go racing in cyberspace, but we're doing it today. It's a little bit of a distraction for you at home, and I hope you're enjoying it. We'll be getting better at this. A few glitches, obviously, but hey, that's racing, and it's all new to everybody. It's quite an undertaking, this. We've got people all around the world getting involved in this, and drivers from all over the states. As up the inside comes the number 12. Nicely done. And he's in. Through.
A great pass on Mig Aponte Rios as Mig goes back behind him. For the number 12, John Atwell,
nicely
as they
done.
go into the left-hander.
Yep, John Atwell from Azle, Texas. We've got quite a few Texans out there.
Listen to the sound, Jonathan. The sound in this game is so realistic.
You can't beat muscle cars. Even in a game, it still sounds awesome. Oh, great battle here into the first corner. Through Big Ben they go, and it's 3. And that was car number 16 of Mark Miller trying to hold that group off. There he is. Mark Miller now racing in IMSA, but of course he's been around Trans Am. Ben, your theory is this will get him right back into it.
Oh, yeah, Mark Miller, as much fun as he had last year with the Stevens Miller Racing Group, he's going to be back in Trans Am. You know, that happened to Cameron Lawrence. Cameron Lawrence seems to take a break and then get sucked back in. Once you race on this TA2 platform, I don't think you can ever leave it. I really do think it's one of the best platforms in road racing, but he's being followed right now by Dylan Archer as they come into the Sam Posey Straight. And how cool is it Sam Posey, a Trans Am legend, and now they're coming down the Trans Am legend, Sam Posey straight with 1 minute left. So they might be able to get around and do one more lap, or this might be the last lap.
Yeah, well, Miller's under pressure now because he's making mistakes. He's being forced into mistakes now, Miller. And that was a big one. So we go back to the front, and it's Merrill still going strong. Merrill, Lawrence, and Miller. That's your top three at the moment. Archer, Eagleton, Racino in 6th place. Atwell is in 7th. That's the man we're looking at right now as we come down to the last 30 seconds of this race. The first ever showdown from Lime Rock, presented by Pirelli. And Trans Am hits into the near air in 2020. We did Sebring. That was for real. And now we're at Lime Rock.
So will this be the checkered flag, Jonathan, or are they going to give him one more lap?
Yeah, I reckon. Unless the leader passes before the clock ticks down. So we should get now. If the leaders have gone past, we'll get one more lap in, I'm guessing. I know, that is the finish, and that therefore means that Merrill does win by 1.1 seconds. That's how close it was at the end. Merrill, Lawrence, Miller, Archer, Eagleton, Roger Eagleton, well done. Great result. 5th place for him. Racino in 6th place, then Atwell getting up to 7th, plus Meg, as you mentioned. We saw that battle going out on track. Rydquist, the Swede turned American, is in 9th position, and Marvosh getting into the top 10. Parsons just dipping out of the top 10. But that is really interesting. Hey, Ben, guess who's starting from the front or thereabouts? Ernie Francis Jr.
We've got 6-time champion Ernie Francis Jr. because what we're doing is we're flipping the grid. It was a great call by the chief stewards to say, hey, we're going to flip the grid, 20-minute race. So if you finish first, you're starting last. And if you finish last, you're starting first. And I got to tell you, I've been following Trans Am for about a decade. This is the first time I've seen Ernie Francis Jr. finish a race in the last place.
Yeah, but it's not the first time I've seen Ernie Francis Jr. start at the back and win.
That's correct, yes.
He did that last year at Indianapolis, I remember. He was doing a K&N race on the Saturday night, so didn't qualify, and then came at the back and still won the race.
Yeah, and you know what? I put a camera on his car for that race, and I just got to talk a little bit about this while we do the cool-down lap. He passed everybody in that field, a huge field of some absolute legends in TA, and every single pass was a perfect pass, and it was so much fun to watch. We should be studying that video for years to come on how to properly pass in a race situation.
Just to check on the result then, Cameron Lawrence, Dylan Archer, Mark Miller, Roger Eagleton, 4th place, in fact, Racino in 5th, then Atwell 6th, Rydquist 7th, Parsons in 8th position, Michelle Abadi getting 9th place ahead of Scott Lagasse Jr. in 10th.
So what happened to Thomas Merrill? Did he get taken back? Was there a ruling? I thought he won the race.
I'm not sure. Not sure. We'll find out in the break. We'll take a short break right here. We'll be back from Lime Rock for the showdown for race 2 after this. Beautiful day here at Lime Rock. Jonathan Green and Ben Sissel bringing you the action from our second race. And as you can see, we are at the moment on that warm-up lap. The reverse top grid, so the whole grid reverse, and that means JP Southern. Great friend of mine is at the front. What an opportunity for him. And Ben, how do you see this one? Green flags waving, JP Southern with a lot of pressure on him now.
Oh, yeah, this could go anywhere. I did just get word from the stewards that Thomas Merrill was penalized for doing an unserved penalty. So he was moved from first back to, I think, 10th or 8th, I think it was. So I'm going to give it over to you, Jonathan.
Fair enough. Well, as we come down the hill here towards the Samposi Straight, we are about to go racing in race 2 for the Trans Am Showdown. Somebody going wide at the start there, but okay, they're back in line. Southern and Cesare gets the lead and leads them into the first corner, into the first big bend, jostling for position. So Southern losing out as he drops into second place. Oh, somebody going very wide and spinning out. Somebody else going off as well. So mayhem at the start of this one, but out front, it's Sarah and Southern going at it. Borchetta in third place. Ernie Francis Jr, our champion, 6 times over and just 23 years of age, from Florida, right up there in 4th position. And a good start, but plenty of drama already, Ben.
Yeah, and look at that. We've got Ernie Francis Jr. making a pass right there on Scott Borchetta. We're not quite making a pass. Scott Borchetta stays in front. Oh, and Ernie Francis knocks him into the wall. Borchetta into the wall.
Well, I've learned one thing in cyber racing. Can't send it, rear end it, and that's what he just did.
Yeah, it's very rare to see Ernie Francis make a move like that. But, you know, I think video game Ernie Francis, simulator Ernie Francis is different than the Ernie Francis we're used to, because usually Ernie has to do his own body work on his cars.
Oh, that was tough too. Down the main straight, and he's taking all the boards down with him. He's back on track. Oh, superb stuff. And through goes the 31, and he's getting some revenge. He takes out the number 1. It's all going off here at Lime Rock, as anticipated. These guys have been locked up in their houses for weeks, and now they're finally getting a chance to race. And now we're seeing the full aggression. The red mist has come down. It started with Ernie Francis Jr, and now it's just gone haywire. I love it. Absolutely superb stuff. As we look back now at the 17 of the only polite lady in the field, that's Michelle Abate. Don't be fooled by that. She's not that polite. She'll take those boys on and take them out if she needs to.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something about Michelle. She came to COTA last year, and she told me that all she wants to do is race with Mark Miller. She is a Mark Miller fan, and now look at this. Mark Miller is 9th, and Michelle Abate is 8th.
Yeah, that's really cool. She'll love to get that scalp, especially Mark Miller's, because he is without doubt one of our most famous drivers, as is Scott Lagasse Jr. and Ernie Francis Jr. So these are big names from the world of Trans Am, but taking on the sim for the first time against each other, remember. They all race on sims, I'm sure, and have a bit of fun, but now they know they're racing against the guys that they truly race against on a weekend basis. As we take a look at the number 4, Lawrence, currently in 3rd position. Lawrence coming into the championship this year at Sebring, coming back, but now right up there here in this second race. And so no real change, nobody coming through. Lagasse Jr. still right at the back, down in 20th position. Francis Jr.'s dropped back to 8th place after that kerfuffle. But it's all quiet on the western front, so to speak, at the front, as car number 4, the man we're watching at the moment, in 3rd place is Lawrence, just behind Southern at the moment, still in 2nd place.
Yeah, but look at the Lawrence and 3rd Archer. These guys march their way back up through the field to get back up on the top of this board, all the way from Roger Eagleton, Nick Racino. So the guys that are the really good sim racers seem to all of a sudden just work their way up with just maybe 2 or 3 laps under them.
On board with JP Southern now as he dives into turn 1. There's action ahead as somebody's coming back on track. Oh, he just avoids it. No, he doesn't. JP Southern from 2nd place gets turned around. No fault of his own. What a disaster for the youngster. Oh, the man from Ohio. Oh, what must he be thinking? He's doing everything right. He was trying to weave his way through. He could see the damage going ahead, or you could see the crash starting to happen just in front of him. We were on board as we dived into turn 1, and then it all went horribly wrong.
It did, and lap traffic can really bite you here at Lime Rock. As we follow along now with Cameron Lawrence, currently in 2nd place somehow. He marched his way through this field again. Cameron Lawrence is always impressive in anything that he drives.
Yeah, no question about it. Look at the gap, though. 3 seconds now. So Cassera really doing a really good job of pulling away at the front. And Lawrence, try as he might, has got his own battle at the moment with Southern, who's still in 3rd place somehow. I don't know how he's managed that, but anyway, he's still there. Coming up on some lap traffic.
Don't count out Dylan Archer back there, going through the left-hander right now. The number 9 of Dylan Archer currently in 4th. Carl Rydquist at 5th.
Whoop.
And we were talking to Carl. He's got a lot of experience racing all kinds of different cars.
Nice move on the inside there at the bottom of the hill. That was a really good textbook Lime Rock overtake there. John Paul Southern really showing his skill here, but then yeah, you're completely wrong. It's the trouble with Sim. You get all confident, don't you? And then suddenly you're back to making mistakes.
Yeah, and there was Dylan Archer and Cameron Lawrence going at it. Cameron Lawrence seemed to win that, but they were side by side at turn 7 as we come into turn 1 following Cameron Lawrence around turn 1, who's currently 1.5 seconds behind the leader.
That was Rydquist, the Swede, just going off wide at turn 1 as they dive now through turn 3. Brew, right-hander and left-hander as it's known. And then no name straight. Yes, that's the name of it.
And let's see what kind of air Cameron Lawrence gets on this uphill right here. Oh, he flies. I'd say they're flying a good 30
pretty
yards
good style
right there.
points there, I guess.
Yeah,
I haven't seen anybody getting major air. I know if I got spun around and I got back to the back, I think I'd just go for air points.
Yeah, but look at this. Cameron Lawrence is starting to now get a gap. We've got Roger Eagleton and Dylan Archer and Mark Miller right behind him, but he's just looking for that gap as we're now following around Scott Borchetta in his Big Machine Vodka Chevy Camaro as he goes up the uphill. Let's look at his style points.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Tyler Cassera doing a hell of a job in the Carbotech brakes. Cassera Motorsports. The TA2 man is leading by, it says officially 29 seconds. I don't think it's that much, but he's certainly way up the road for sure in this second race. More action going on behind. But at the moment, it's Cassera, Lawrence, Eagleton now up to 3rd place. Archer 4th, Miller back into the hunt. As wide goes the 21 of Racino of, you know his hometown. What's it called? Cucamonga?
Rancho Cucamonga, one of the best town names ever.
I want to live there, just so I can say I live there.
Yeah.
So back
Mitch
to the action.
Marvash,
We've
another one of our
minutes
West
left
Coast
in this
racers,
race.
and here we
Lots
are
of
back
action
with
still to
Nick
come from it, and I
Racino.
don't think we've seen
talked to us today, and he
most
loves
of the action
racing
yet
on the Sims, so he's a regular in the Sims. So expect him to move back up through the field.
Abate drops down to 18th position. She's behind Aponte Rios. Aponte Rios down in 17th position. Just ahead is RJ Lopez in 16th. Then Doug Winston is in 15th. Racino's dropped down to 14th now. Marvosh up to 12th now. He's just behind Scott Borchetta. And Barco, you had a conversation with him this morning. He was really looking forward to doing that.
Oh, yeah, he loves this stuff. He loves to race anything, and he has just a lot of fun doing it, being a champion from last year and now moving into the Trans Am Series. But we got to follow right here the number 24 of Eagleton. Look at this battle right here between Eagleton, Archer, Miller. This is a great battle up here as they come into the left-hander, Jonathan.
Yeah, no question about it. I think they've now discovered that they can hit each other fairly tough. And luckily, so far, Will Tregutha, the race director, has not penalized them too much. They know they can't be out of the race, i.e. they won't get damage where they get pulled, where they won't get any damage to the car itself. But even so, they are being pretty brutal out there right now as they dial themselves in. This is exactly what we hope to see, is that the racing would get better, the action would get better, and it would get more heated. Cars going off, going wide, down the Posey straight we go. Sam Posey would be proud, I'm sure, the former Trans Am hero. Into turn 1 they go. Lawrence, Cassera, Archer, Eagleton, and Miller. That's your top 5. Southern's still there. Somebody going wide there at turn 1, but you can gather it all together.
Oh, this is just so much fun to watch for our first outing of this inaugural Trans Am by Pirelli Esports Championship here at Lime Rock as we follow along with current 2nd place Tyler Cassera in the number 30.
Oh, and off goes the 19. That was a big off. That was Mitch Marvosh of Ventura, California, getting some air and then getting it sideways. Back with the 24 of Roger Eagleton in the middle of this three-way battle. Eagleton in 4th position at the moment as they come down the main straight. Still 12 minutes to go in this one. I just love the idea of Eagleton pedaling hard in Hawaii up against a guy in New York and a guy in Florida and a guy in Las Vegas. Brilliant.
Yeah, and we've got Will, our race director, who's in the UK right now, Will Tagurtha. But then I wonder if Dorsey Schrader, the normal Trans Am chief steward, is in Key West somewhere watching this race,
at home with a beer, with
his lucky stars that he doesn't have to
at his
give
computer
out
right now, going,
all this
"What are you
carnage."
doing?" I'd love to go to the driver's briefing when we get back to racing, and we look at the most penalized sim racer and go, "Watch out for him."
Yeah, exactly.
So
now we follow along with Roger Eagleton, in the number 24 car, as he
we're
comes
keeping
down
an eye on
San Jose
Eagleton because he's
State.
making some moves at the moment. Slightly wide there, using all the track and more.
Series, and he is a great driver in everything. But he and Nick Racino had a great battle last night in their sim at Sonoma, and it looks like he's showing up here at Lime Rock Park.
Yep, and as I mentioned before, Lime Rock has had a big history with Trans Am. It's where we do our Memorial Weekend special race, and sadly, we don't think we'll be able to have it, which is why I think the organizers chose Lime Rock, because we wanted to celebrate one of the most iconic circuits in Trans Am, and that's the beauty of Trans Am. Not only is it 54 years of age, it goes to all the great iconic circuits, including my own one here in Austin, Texas, at COTA, the newest, perhaps, circuit in America, but certainly able to sit alongside Laguna Seca, Road America, and many others, and of course, Lime Rock. Lime Rock always been the challenge because it's so tight, and you've got some specialists around here, there's no doubt about it, but it's all about being really careful about how much power you use and not getting spun around like that. And around goes the 17 of Michelle Abate. She's been in the wars this afternoon. That's not the first time I've seen her getting spun around. So she's having some fun out there.
Oh yeah, Michelle Abate is always having fun racing. And you mentioned the Memorial Day Classic. We haven't quite canceled that, but if for some reason it does for this coronavirus, I know that Tony and John Claggett are working hard to reschedule it. And they've been talking to Skip Barber at Lime Rock Park, and it has not been canceled. If we don't have it Memorial Day weekend, they're working hard to just postpone it until later on, maybe in the middle of summer. But we are going to be at Lime Rock Park in 2020.
Yeah, and by the way, guys, if you are tuning in from around the world, download our apps, SVRA and Trans Am, and take a look at those. We'll keep you up to date with exactly what is happening on the ground and when we will be going back to racing and where, because obviously the schedule, like all of motorsport right now, is up in the air, but we hope to be racing very soon indeed. And while we're not, we'll go back and do this, a little bit of this. Why not? It's a good distraction, and I hope you're having some fun watching our professionals go through their paces here on the sim, getting a little bit of air here at Lime Rock. Nobody getting too high, but everybody racing hard and pedaling hard here in the closing stages of this one. 9 minutes to go, and Lawrence out front, but the gap now to Casera is only, what, 1 second?
Yep. And I hope everybody's paying attention. Dylan Archer, currently in third, who we're following along with right now in his Forge Line Wheels Team Tech Motorsports Camaro. Bobby and Tommy Archer, I hope you're watching this, because you need to get this person, this driver, this kid into a Trans Am car.
I was going to say, this could be a breakout moment for somebody who is looking to make a name for himself, and Archer could be it.
Oh, yeah.
Southern looked pretty good. JP Southern, he's just starting out his Trans Am career. Good to see him out there. Right, we go back on board with second place, and this is the battle, guys. Lawrence versus Casera, and look how close it is as they come onto the main straight. Casera jigs to the inside, has a look, but the racing line is where he is now as they dive into turn one. A dab on the brakes. Good racing from Lawrence. Goes wide there. Out of two, down towards three. A little bit of traffic in front of them, and let's hope he gets out the way and sees the blue flags, because this is not what Lawrence needs now. He wants to get past quickly and quietly, so to speak, because if he makes a mistake now, Casera, as they head up the hill, will pounce for sure. Here we go. We're going to get a little bit of air, do we? Yes, we do. Nicely done as we stay on board. But now that back marker very much in the way as we come down to West Bend. Down the hill, sweeping through here. Well, I say that back marker, he's pretty fast at the moment as we come onto the main straight, but he'll want to get past him now, will Lawrence, and see if he can put a gap between himself and second place. Oh, he thought about it, didn't he? Right up the inside. He wants to squeeze his way through. He can't get through. But now he's got the chance, and he's done it. Sarah goes through as well, into turn 3. Great racing on board. Lawrence,
yeah, that was
just
Adrian
holding off. That's the
Wlostowski,
way
who
you deal
desperately
with back
didn't want
markers,
to
Ben.
get lapped.
Brilliant stuff there. Great action and great to be on board.
Oh, these are great angles as they come up to the uphill here. And I love the front and rear angles here, too. Following along, here we've got Cameron Lawrence coming into West Bend, about to go down the downhill. But that was Adrian Wlostowski that was the lap traffic. And I'm thinking he got spun and did not want to get lapped.
Yeah, Wlostowski has been the typical Trans Am guy. In the real world, everybody helps. You'll see Ernie Francis go down and say, hey, man, you need some dampers. I saw you broken your car, and I got some spare this, spare that. And here in the sim game, it's been Wlostowski who's been helping everybody doing the IT and saying, hey, this is what you do for this setup. This is what you do for Discord. This is what you do here. So he's been helping everybody all weekend long. So I want to give him a shout out wherever he finishes. 6 minutes to go then in our Trans Am Showdown from Lime Rock. The 28th of March 2020, and Trans Am begun back in 1966, March 25th. That's when it all roared off at Sebring, and we did roar off at Sebring just a month ago, but we're now locked in like everyone else, but we're enjoying our racing and we're going back to racing. We will not be stopped. We're going to carry on. Great stuff. But Lawrence now still with that 1 second lead
right now, with
5 minutes to go.
Rear view, you can really see how different these drivers are and the different lines they're taking. And Cassera seems to be stronger in certain parts of the track, and Lawrence seems to be stronger in other parts of the track as they come up here to lap traffic. This is a tough track to pass on, and I know that Cameron Lawrence is not going to want to get slowed down by this lap at all.
Yeah, this back-facing camera really impressive. You can see how much air they actually get as they come over that hill, that crest. Fantastic stuff.
I'm getting caught up in just watching the racing. I forget that we have to talk about this as they come into Big Bend. Look at this, going into turn 1, Jonathan.
This is close, closer than you'd like, but really good. And we're watching it, and the 19 gets pushed and nerfed wide. That was Mitch Marvosh from Ventura, California, the Wolf Entertainment man. Was it you telling me that it's part of the Wolf Productions team?
Yeah, Law and Order, Dick Wolf. I think he told me at Portland that his wife works for them, and they're a proud sponsor of Mitch Marvosh's team.
Well, if you're tuning in, Law and Order, we love the show.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, and speaking of, I heard in the break that we have over 6,200 viewers just on Twitch worldwide, so we want to thank them for joining this broadcast.
Yes, thank you. Well, we're going to sort out the glitches and get going, and as you can see in the bottom right there, that's where you get the app. Download it. Whatever phone you have, whatever smartphone you have, download our app, and you can keep up to date with what's going on in Trans Am and SVRA. Of course, Trans Am and SVRA joined at the hip effectively. Tony Pirelli and John Claggett putting on a great show. And we had a great weekend at Sebring. We did a live stream from there, and it really kicked off 2020 well. And it's just a shame because I think this was going to be one of the most exciting years, and it still may well be. And I think it's great that they've reacted. Blue flags waving, and well, they might, because there's some real action going down as Cameron Lawrence trying to stay ahead, but also get past these back markers who are seeing these blue flags. But Lawrence losing out to that back markers because now the gap's come down to 0.7, and this is not what Lawrence wants. He wants to get past. He wants to get past quickly, but here comes Cassera on the inside to take the lead here at Lime Rock. And he's done it. He used the back markers, but it's not over yet. They're still battling. But that was a big moment, and Lawrence has lost out big time there, and it's now dropped down, and that has changed everything, Ben.
Oh, yeah, it has. And like Chris Dyson said last year, it's all about the lap traffic here, as Chris Dyson won this race in the TA class last year. But now Cameron Lawrence, do not give up on Cameron Lawrence, because he will fight his way back there and try to get Cassera.
Yeah, he's coming back down under the hill. He's already made up one place, and here he comes in that number 4. But that was a big moment there, using the back mark as well. Cassera to take back the lead. Remember, he led early on at the start of this race when Miller led the whole pack, and Miller now back up to 3rd place. Archer 4th, Eagleton still 5th, Francis Jr. now 6th place, and look who's returned, the Texan. Adrian is up to 7th place now, ahead of Ridequist. Rossino in 9th, and Barco in 10th position at the moment. 2 minutes to go. Well, this is going to be a grandstand finish for sure. There is nothing between the leaders. Just this tiny 1.5-mile course here at Lime Rock. And a little bit of chance for history here to go into the history books. Because in my book, whoever wins the second race is going to go with all the headlines. Amy Greenaway will be getting that typewriter right. I think she still uses the typewriter, doesn't she?
This is a great race, Jonathan. Look at how Cameron Lawrence and Tyler Cassera are really trying to outthink each other. As they go into the left-hander, Cameron keeps trying to duck under, to be in his mirrors, to try to tell him he's here. But it looks like these guys are having a great battle out here at Lime Rock Park as they go down No Name Straight as we watch them with just a minute and a half left as they go up the uphill jump.
Yeah, what they've got to watch now, though, is back markers. That's the real problem for them. And you can see the blue flags. The marshal's doing a good job. The green flag's waving. There's no problems there. But the problem for Lawrence and Cassera is the fact that they've got these back markers ahead of them. And if Lawrence is going to make his move, he's going to do it probably, in the next lap. We're going to have probably 1 lap to go. And this is going to be hell-bent for leather to try to win this one. The first ever Trans Am E-race. And here we go into what should be the last lap, less than a minute to go, and it's Cassera and Lawrence going head-to-head as they have been all race long. Mark Miller, though, the wily fox that is Mark Miller, who got 4th place here in the real race last year. Could he improve and get 3rd, I wonder? Mark Miller coming back to Trans Am this weekend. Plans to the left of me, Jokers to the right. Here they are, right in the middle. And this is fantastic stuff, side by side. Sarah doing the business. Lawrence trying to stay with him. They're weaving their way through.
Last lap, Jonathan, last lap as they come into turn 1. How is Cassera going to keep... Oh, look at that!
Cassera gets turned around and Lawrence goes back into the lead. Now, that could be something for the stewards to look at because that was a little bit tough. But either way, they're both still out, both still on it. Coming past the number 1 of Adrian Wlostowski. The race, so Lawrence has won. It looks as though the race finish has been called at that last lap as they cross the line. So it's Lawrence, Cassera and Miller on the podium. Eagleton in 4th position, Archer in 5th, and Ernie Francis Jr. doing a really good job finishing in 6th with that reverse grid, having started right at the back. But it's going to be Lawrence, and I tell you what, he deserves it. What a race for Cameron Lawrence of Windermere, Florida, for the 3-dimensional services team. TA2, former champion, proving that he's no slouch, both in the real world of Trans Am and in the cyberspace world that is Trans Am today. Fantastic stuff. Ben Sissel, what are your thoughts on how he just basically, just the tenacity there in that race, because that was tough.
What a great first time out, the Lime Rock Showdown inaugural Trans Am by Pirelli Esports Championship. That was so much fun to watch, but I tell you what, somebody I wouldn't want to be right now is Will Tagurtha, trying to figure out if that last little shunt there at turn 1 with Cameron Lawrence and Cassera is going to cause anything, or if that was just a racing incident. But what a great first run with us here on the Esports. I cannot wait to do this again.
Oh, no, I can't either. So official confirmation there. It looks like that Lawrence does take it from Cassera. Miller on the podium, improves 1 spot from last year, but it doesn't matter. Mark Miller will be delighted with that performance. Roger Eagleton racing in Hawaii, doing a really good job in 4th position. Dylan Archer does a really good result in 5th place. Ernie Francis Jr. is 6th. Ridequist in 7th. Rossino in 8th position. And Rhett Baku in 9th position. RJ Lopez finishing out and rounding out the top 10.
That was just so much fun. We've got Doug Winston, 11th place. Scott Borchetta, 12th. Scott Lagasse Jr., 13th. We've got 14th. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Jonathan, send us out at the first Lime Rock Esports Showdown.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Obviously some glitches, but it's fun, guys. This is what we wanted. A little bit of a distraction. We're all under troubled times at the moment. You've just been around America and around the world with everybody putting this race on for you. So I thank the people from rFactor and from all the organizers, and my thanks to Trans Am. It's been a real bit of fun, this, and I hope we do it again. And I hope you've enjoyed tuning in. We'll get our glitches sorted out, and we'll be back with more and stronger Trans Am racing next time out. Thanks for joining us for the Lime Rock Showdown.